How much time you spend on the phone will determine how successful you are as a salesperson.
Hello, Tom. I know about your success, about your YouTube channel. I am sure that you are going to be expanding and growing more and more. Saludos, Tomás.
People see me as a technologist. Investors, financiers, colleagues. When they see my background, they see me as a technologist, somebody in software that builds things. That's what I do. I've been doing that for the last 30 years. But however, it is not what I build that caused me to be where I'm today. There are a lot of builders out there, and they build a lot of great things, but nobody knows about them because they don't know how to sell it. I've been fortunate because I started doing sales when I was 19 years old. I started selling pizza, and then I moved into natural gas, and I sold many, many things. Eventually, I started selling software for myself. I was closing $500,000, $1 million, and my biggest deal is probably like $10 million. I don't want to brag, but I did a lot of deals, let's just say that. In the last 30 years, I had a lot of success. And also, I had a lot of disappointments as well. And I'm going to share with you some of those as well. But today, I'm going to share with you why spending time on the phone is such an important thing for a salesperson. I'm talking about this thing here. This should be your best friend. If you're not spending time on the phone for at least 8 hours a day, you're not going to make it as a salesperson. Let me explain why. I often say that sales is a numbers game. You have to play the numbers game in order to win in sales. In life, in fact, but particularly in sales, because a lot of the times you're going to meet with failure. You're going to call a prospect. They're not going to be interested. They have no demand. You can't reach them. They don't pick up. That's going to be majority of your sales experience. That will be 98% of your sales experience if you're an average salesperson. But if you're more advanced, let's say you are a guru, let's say you've been doing sales for the last 10 years, you're still gonna meet a lot of rejections. The only difference is that you know how to handle those rejections. For the experienced salesperson, they don't worry about the rejections. They don't care about the rejections because they know when to go to the next deal. This deal doesn't work, that's fine, next. They move on to the next deal. Nothing happened, no big deal. They don't feel hurt inside. They're not disappointed. They're not devastated because they lost one deal. I stopped worrying about losing deals. Let me tell you this. In my early days of doing software deals, yeah, every time I lose a deal, I'm devastated, I'm hurt. I feel terrible. But over time, I just become insensitive to it. In fact, I know eventually this customer is going to come back to me anyways. How do I know that? Because I'm here today and looking back into my history, most of my customers are customers that eventually went with a competitor. After a couple of years, they come back to me because they've been royally fucked by my competitors. My biggest deal today, I'm not going to mention any names, but people who work with me know who I'm talking about. My biggest deal today, they work with a competitor in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam for a few months, maybe 8, I don't know exactly. Eventually, they are just so upset with that vendor and they came to me and say, Tom, can you do it? At that time, I was like, I don't know, I need to think about it. Okay, I'll do it. And I took that deal and that became my biggest deal. I know it's okay to lose a deal. I don't mind when I lose a deal. But it's that attitude you need to have. Like, it's okay to lose deals because, again, sales is a numbers game. You're going to lose 98% of the time. You're going to win the 2%. And it's the 2% that's going to define your success. And how do you get to the 2%? That's where this thing comes in. You got to make a lot of calls. You got to meet a lot of prospects. You have to meet a lot of clients. The stupidest salespeople that I know is that they hedge all their bet on one customer. 1 is a terrible number in business because when you have 1 of anything, you're bound to fail. If you have 1 employee that can do everything, when he leaves, you're fucked. You have 1 customer that you think he's gonna buy and he does not, then you're royally fucked. 1 is a terrible number in business. Not only that, 2 is also not a very good number. So what you want is you want to play the numbers game. You want to play the field. You want to have as many prospects as possible and expect that 98% of them will reject you. And that's okay. And that's the right attitude to have when you're a salesperson. It's okay to fail 98% of the time. You only need to succeed twice. That's the mindset of any business person, any entrepreneur who wants to make it big in anything. You gotta play the numbers game. And how do you play the numbers game? This is your best friend. We talked about this already. This thing allows you to reach anybody in Vietnam, even the world. Just call them. When you call them, you have 100% of their attention. They're talking to you. They're focused on you. They're listening what you're saying. And it costs you almost nothing to make a call. When you go visit a customer, you have to drive there. You have to spend time to get to their location. But on this, it takes you a few finger punches and you're talking to the guy. Talk to as many people as possible. This is not just advice for salespeople. If you want to do anything, you cannot make money by yourself. If you want to make money, you got to talk to people. That's just the way it is. Money does not exchange hands if you don't talk to people. And of the people that you talk to, only about 2% will actually give you their money. And that's just normal. That's just the way it is. And as a salesperson, you need to accept it. Now, I want to talk a little bit about my company. In my company, we have multiple levels of sales. We have qualifiers, we have closers. Qualifiers are people that find prospects. Closers are people that close the deal. Qualifiers especially need to make phone calls because they need to call a lot of people to find a few potentials. If you give up easily, if you call 3 people and you give up and you don't want to call anymore, you cannot be a salesperson. Seriously, you have the wrong mindset. You should not be in sales. You need to get out of the sales profession. But if you're the kind of person that no matter what happens, no matter what people say, you just keep on doing it, like me, then yeah, you're gonna have a lot of success in sales. Because sales is a numbers game. It's all about how many people you call, how many people you reach. And as a closer, somebody who gets the deal and try to close the deal, it's the same. Because you gotta talk to the people on the phone, in person, in meetings. But a lot of that time is going to be on the phone because you got to reach those people on the phone to convince them to get a meeting, to convince them to overcome their objections. You need to continually doing it. So that is a lot of time on the phone. If you don't do it, then it's not going to happen. As a closer, you have a lot of deals that you need to follow up. You have a lot of potentials you need to follow up. And you have a lot of deals that are close to closing. And those deals you need to follow up more frequently. So what that means is you're on the phone a lot. Any salesperson who doesn't want to use the phone is a fucking idiot, is what I'm saying. Because if you don't want to use the phone, that means you just want to get lucky. You want to find 1 deal or 2 deals, and then they say yes, and you're lucky. For the month, you're locked out, you make the money, great, happy, joy, you make the KPI. But reality is that you need a lot of luck for that to happen. Sometimes you make the deal on your first customer that you reach. Great. But it doesn't happen often. And if you only rely on luck, then eventually that luck will run out. You know what actually makes you lucky all the time? Make a lot of calls. If you make a lot of calls, you're going to consistently close 2 to 5%. And that is lucky. Hard work gives you luck. That's one of my rules. Look it up. Hard work gives you luck. Call a lot of people. Play the numbers game. Now, I want to talk a little bit about KPI. In this company, our KPI for salespeople is how much time you call on the phone. It's one of the KPIs. Really, the most important KPI is revenue, how much money you bring. We really only care about that. If you can do that, I don't care about anything else. But when you cannot bring the money in, what do I look at next? I look at how much time you spend on the phone. Because that is going to determine whether you're successful or not. If you do not spend the time on the phone, that explains why you don't get the revenue. Very simple. If you don't spend the time on the phone, you're not gonna get the revenue. So if you don't get the revenue, we look at your call time. And when we see that you don't have the call time, then that means you really should not be working here. because you're not going to make money for yourself, and you're certainly not going to help this company. So this is why call time is a KPI in my company, in my sales team. In the long past, we had this KPI like 25 calls over 1 minute. Every salesperson needs to make 25 calls over 1 minute. It's such an easy KPI. And what we found is a lot of salespeople cheat. This is a year ago, 8 months ago. Salespeople cheat because it's very easy to call somebody for 1 minute and hang up. So everybody did that. And when you walk into the sales room, the room is quiet. Nobody's talking. Nobody's on the phone because they just make their 25 fake calls and then they just sit there and do nothing. And the company failed. The company failed terribly. We were not bringing the revenue that we should. And then I really talked to a lot of sales managers, sales directors in Vietnam. And then one of the things that they told me was, hey, Tom, you really should not be using that as a KPI. You should be using call time. We made a change about 8 months ago. Were people upset? Oh, yeah. When we changed from 25 calls over 1 minute to maybe 100-minute call time 8 months ago, people were upset. They said, fuck you, I quit. Okay, half of the team quit, maybe more, but that's okay. The people that left stick with the KPI and they start calling. And then we see dramatic changes. When I walk into our sales room, it was fucking loud. Everybody was on the phone. They're making the call time. Still, some salespeople cheat. They call their friends and talk about shit. And we catch them. And then we, of course, release them from our company. But then there was less cheating than before. And more importantly, the salespeople start to make money. And the company started to make money. In Q1 of this year, we actually hit our revenue goal. It was fantastic. It was amazing. Every quarter, we always fall short of our goal. But last quarter, in Q1, we actually hit our goal because of these KPI changes. But I don't know why. We went back to the old KPI. And then what we discovered was everybody went back to the old way of doing things. They make 25 calls, and then they do nothing. The sales room was quiet again. Revenue stopped flowing in. What do you do as a leader at that point in time? If this was your company, what would you do? We, of course, have to change the KPI back. Is it going to be popular? Of course not. Are people going to leave? Yes, but that's okay. The people that leave are the people that are not going to even call 10 minutes a day. So that's okay. COVID-19, lockdown in Ho Chi Minh City, it's hard. Times are hard. Jobs are hard to find. Please give your job to people that deserve it. If you want to quit over a call time KPI, that's fine. I want to give these jobs to people that want to do it. You understand? If you're the CEO of this company, if you're the CEO of your company, and your salespeople don't even call 8 minutes a day, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to say it's okay? I'm going to take care of my people first? Fuck the company? I'm not going to be that kind of a leader because I have my own family to think about. I have families of 400 employees to think about. I have to think in terms of the big picture. I cannot think in terms of individual concerns. Your concerns don't matter to me if you can't help the company. If you're going to call 25 calls over 1 minute and you think that's doing sales, please go work for my competitor and fuck them in the ass. I think they deserve you more. Please go over there and fuck their company. But this one, I'm going to make it truly successful. And I only want people that want to succeed with this company. I hope I've explained this clearly. Call time is extremely important in any sales team, in any sales organization. If you do not make the call time, you're not going to make the money. It doesn't matter what you do. If you don't reach people, you're not going to close the sales. It's so simple. Why can't you get it? I remember about 4 years ago, I hired about 37 salespeople from Hot Deal because Hot Deal was laying off their salespeople. They're firing them. Right? I thought, whoopee-doo, opportunity, let's go hire their salespeople. Because it was my first sales team in Vietnam, and my sales team building experience tells me that you just hire them, they will take care of themselves, because salespeople are naturally go-getters, they're achievers. I don't need to worry about them. I never really have to worry about my sales teams anywhere in Canada or Singapore, but never did I realize building a sales team in Vietnam was so hard because people need to be pushed. People need to be motivated. People need to be brainwashed. People need to be talked to constantly to push them. Otherwise, they just give up so fast. And then they change job from job to job to job to job. Now, I hired 37 salespeople from Hot Deal, thinking that was a great move on my part, but it turned out to be a huge disaster because I did not hire their best. The best people in Hot Deal did not want to leave. They stayed there because they were making the money. It's the shitty people in Hot Deal that got fired, that got terminated, and those are the ones that I hired into my company, and that team was total fucking shit. That team really delayed my plans for 1 year. And I spent way too much time trying to reach them, trying to educate them, trying to motivate them, but it was hopeless because I got the worst of the bunch. What I'm saying is that I only want to hire the best. If you're not the best, please leave and let my competitors hire you. That will be good for everyone, especially me. So what I'm saying here is increase your fucking call time. And I can set the policy 2 ways. 1, I require you to make, let's say, 100 minutes a day. There's 8 hours a day. There's 8 times 60, 480 minutes a day. I only need you to call 100. We can structure the policy based on how much you call and pay you. Or I can structure the policy as such. If you don't meet the daily KPI 3 days in a row, we fire you. Either way works for me. Which one you want? Salary based on call, or we fire you if you don't meet the daily KPI every 3 days. Which one you like? I can do either way, but you gotta make the call. Because if you don't make the call, you're not gonna make the money. And if you can't make the money, 1, you should not be here, and 2, you're not gonna make the money for yourself too, and I don't want you to be poor. So you gotta change your profession. You can't be in sales. That's all I'm saying. Take fucking action, increase your fucking call time, and don't be a fucktard.